Wade Gatto. Gatto on the near side. Connect now quickly. It's Simpson. Shot. Scores. Bardowski. And Simpson makes it 5-2. Lakers know. The bench knows. Their names will be etched in history of women's lacrosse at SUNY Oswego as the final 3 seconds tick. The Lakers are SUNY champions. For the first time in program history, a SUNY title is coming to Oswego. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Derik Clark, and you are listening to Bullspitting with Derik Clark, me, the host, the guy that does everything when it comes to hosting stuff, especially a radio show and everything else. So hello, my name is Derik. Welcome to episode 30 of the podcast. It's been about over a week. I know it's been over a week. You're like, Derik, you said the podcast was back, but now it's been over a week and you drove. What's taking so long? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Work, the NHL draft, the NHL free agency, the NFL releasing new uniforms, a whole crap ton of news. Nico Hulkenberg got a podium in F1. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, might be the reason NASCAR doesn't do the streets of Chicago anymore and rather goes back to Chicagoland. The Ducks traded Gibson now. We've also done a whole lot of other things that I don't want to talk about. Actually, I do want to talk about. Because right now, if I had a nickel for every time a driver with the last name McQueen, or I'm sorry, I messed that up. If I had a nickel for every time a rookie with the last name McQueen started their career in California, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot. But it's odd that it happened twice. And that's the story with the Anaheim Ducks. At least their draft side. When it comes to free agency, not so much. But that's another story another time. The MLB is playing a baseball game in frickin' Bristol Motor Speedway. This happened 2 years ago or last year when they announced it. And now it's August 2nd and there's gear getting dropped. There's a lot of things going on. There is a lot of things going on that are going to determine a lot of other things in the near future in the world of sports. So sit down, relax, maybe grab a cold one. I don't know. It's time for Bullspitting with Derik. So, where do I even begin with this? I don't even know where to begin. Let me grab my phone, and then we will continue from there. Okay, so I thought to start this draft, I'll go all the way down. There it is. Okay. So I want to start with the NHL draft and then work on to what happened during the NHL draft when it comes to my Ducks and everything else. Now, obviously, my Anaheim Ducks traded Travis Akers away. Yada, yada, yada. He's in Philly. Not surprised here, the Islanders went with the first overall pick with Matthew Schaefer. Michael Missa went to the Sharks, and then you have Anton Fundell went to the... Like, everything is normal from picks 1 to 7. Okay? Then pick 8 comes in. Jake O'Brien. Wait a minute. Hold up. That was the guy that the Ducks were projected to draft 10th overall. So now O'Brien's gone up. Well, the Sabres say screw it to Roger McQueen. And so McQueen doesn't get drafted to Sabres. They'd rather go for Radman Makara. Look, these are rookie last names. I don't remember how they said it. Yada, yada, yada. A big shocker here, though, went with the 10th overall pick. McQueen comes to Anaheim. Why is that important? They load that guy in a helicopter. They fly him over to Anaheim, California. They land him onto Disneyland. And holy freaking moly, grab your guys. Is a little bit of a party going because you're in California. You're going to go meet McQueen. That's what happened. Roger McQueen met Lightning McQueen. So now there's 2 McQueens in California. Can't make that one up. Other notable picks, I should say. Definitely, I mean, there's a few. Victor Eklund, I think, is a Q on there. I mean, Eklund and Schaefer are going to be in the Islanders, and the Islanders also drafted Kashawn Axon, so there's going to be 3 draft picks there. Out of the first round of the Islanders, the Ducks only had 1. There was a lot of teams that had 3, like the Nashville Predators, who had Brad Martin going 5th overall, and then they had Cameron Reed, who went 21st overall, and 26th overall. They went with Riker Lee. So there's a lot of two things, a lot of this and that. But then it came free agency, which was right after the draft. But during the draft is when everything went crazy. The Red Wings picked up the phone about John Gibson, and the trade went in. John Gibson has been traded, or had been, or is traded. He's now a Red Wing to the Red Wings in exchange for Peter Mrazek, which we're not going to talk about that. 2027 second round pick and the 2026 fourth round pick. This is a solid trade. I don't like it entirely. Because I don't think Mrazek is the same as Gibson. But Gibson is old. But Gibson also is talented more than I think Mrazek. It's a whole thing with Ducks. It's a whole rebuild now with the goalie situation because Gibson is gone. Now I say situation, Lucas Dostal we do have. I go up, we had some trades going on during the draft, obviously picks for picks. But then finally, in a wild situation, we finally get free agency kicking off, and it's Mitch Marner in the news. Reporting, might go to Vegas. Holy crap, he's going to Vegas. He went to Vegas, all right. And that was a head spin and a half. Obviously, the Ducks re-signed Via Huso, that we've had for quite some time now. He's in the A system most of the time, the AHL over at San Diego with the Goals. But then we get some other trades with the Golden Knights. But it's not Mitch Marner in Toronto because that's not a whole thing. It was defenseman Nick Hugh who went over to Nashville in exchange for Jeremy Lanzon and Colton Sissons. Now, we get a re-sign of Henry. Right? Like, there's just Kasper Kapanen re-signed with Edmonton for a year. So, there's a couple things. The Wild renamed their arena. It's now the Grand Casino Arena out there in St. Paul, Minnesota. So there's a lot going on. Sam Malinsky re-signed with the Colorado Avalanche. Now they go crazy. Then the Red Wings pick up the phone again. This time to trade a player away from Detroit. They sent Vladimir Tarasenko for future considerations. Those future considerations, by the way, still to this day, have not been talked about. So there's this wild phone calls and stuff, and this just phone calls after phone calls, and there's not this crazy news. And then we finally hit on June 30th, when free agency technically starts, but it doesn't. July 1st it does, but June 30th is when stuff can get finalized. Mitch Marner signs with the Vegas Golden Knights on an 8-year, $12 million per year contract. So do the math, grab your old calculator and go 12 times 8. Dude's making $96 million in 8 years. So he's making some bank. Andrei Kuzmenko, I think it says. Sorry, I'm not a Kings fan. I hate the Kings. He signed a 1-year deal. So there's these 1-year deals going on. And then finally, the trade portion of this Mitch Marner deal comes in because they had to trade a player to Toronto. So Mitch Marner goes in, he signs that 8-year, $12 million per year contract. But then Nicholas Waugh, I believe it's Waugh, or it could be Roy. Sometimes it's Roy, sometimes it's Waugh. Gets traded to Toronto, and Toronto's like, what the freak? All the Toronto fans are confused as heck. Nick Cousins re-signs with Ottawa. So there's just crazy stuff. And then Brad Marchand comes out. Yeah, he doesn't go back to Boston. There was a whole rumor with Boston. There was a whole rumor with Utah. He re-signs with Florida, obviously. 6 years, $5.25 million per year. If you do the math, 5.25 times 6. Give me to it. 31.5 million freaking dollars to Brad Marchand. He'll probably end his career out there in Florida. Then Carolina comes in. They're like, we're going to trade our goalie, Caden Primero, to Carolina in exchange for a 7th-round pick to Montreal. So the Canadians, they get rid of him. I believe I just said Carolina. I didn't mean Carolina. I meant the Canadians. Patrick Kane then re-signs on a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Red Wings. And so there's this weird stuff. And then this cap hits, right? You got $36 million for the Ducks at the second highest. Sharks are the highest with $44.1 million. They do a lot of stuff. Thomas Nosek re-signs with Florida, 1-year, $775,000 contract. Thatcher Demko, 3-year, $8.5 million per year contract. Goaltender re-signs with Vancouver. Then a re-sign for Connor Grenlin on a 6-year, $6 million per year contract. So there's these contracts coming in. There's another resigns. Like, there's all these resigns. Then Jake Allen kind of breaks it here with resign with the Devils on a 5-year, $1.8 million contract. And then we finally, like, this is a weird build-up. What I'm trying to point out is there's just this weird build-up. You know, it's like there's not a lot of news, but there is news, but there's not news. And it's like, who's going where? Who in the world's going where? Well, finally, you know, there's somewhat crazy news, there's somewhat not crazy news, and then finally we get, you know, some decent news, that kind of breaks it up. Cody Ceci signed with the Kings, which was interesting news actually, in my opinion. And another one is Anton Forsberg as well. He signed with the good old Kings. Another thing, Tyler Johnson has retired from Tampa Bay. That was some really interesting, shocking news. Jeffrey Petrie, who was in Detroit, signed with Florida on a 1-year, $775,000 contract. And so there's Brandon Bussey, who was in Boston, now in Florida with a 1-year, $775,000. Nolan Foote, who I actually got to watch play all the way back in the Binghamton Devils days. He's a 1-year, $775,000 contract. Cody Glass re-signed with New Jersey, which is crazy because Cody Glass, remember, Cody Glass was in Vegas, he was in Detroit, he was in here, he was there. There was a lot of places that he went that he finally got a hold of. Then you have another goalie trade, Alex Nejovic. Don't quote me on that. Alex Nevochik gets traded for a third-round pick from Pittsburgh to the Sharks. But, you know, there's just these Vinik. Oh, boy, I'm going to butcher that name again. A 1-year, $1.5 million deal. He went from Florida to Utah. Isaac Lundstrom left the Ducks. He's now a Columbus Blue Jacket on a 2-year, $1.3 million per year contract. But then the Ducks finally splashed some water, and I think this was a big deal because after this one, there's a couple big deals, but it's just like, wow. The Ducks signed Mikael Granlund on a 3-year, $7 million contract per year. That's $21 million in 3 years. That's a solid deal and a solid player for my Ducks. Quack, quack. But that isn't really all because of it. Brett Burns left Carolina, which I was shocked. I was shocked that Brett Burns left. He went to Colorado on a 1-year, $1 million contract. So he kind of breaks up the water there. And as for the later news, I think this is the craziest news out of all of it, in my opinion. Riley Nash retired, which is crazy. But this is definitely some wild news. Isaac Howard, a forward that was drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning back in 2021, played for Michigan State for 3 seasons, will not be going to Michigan State no more because he was traded. So he's no longer at Michigan State, and he's no longer going to be in Tampa. He was traded. His player rights were traded for Sam O'Reilly, like the Sam O'Reilly, the actual player in the NHL. So imagine playing college hockey. You get traded. Your rights to sign get traded to another team, and that other team trades an actual player for you. You think you're going to get traded for like a pick. Nope. You're getting traded for an actual player. Sam O'Reilly leaves Edmonton, goes to Tampa Bay. Isaac Howard is a Oiler on a 3-year entry-level contract. Entry-level, by the way, I believe it's $550K now. Could be higher. I think it's $650 actually. So that's really all the hockey news that I could give you right now. And my real opinion is that the NHL free agency has been a bit weird because there's some news. Of course, McQueen, Roger, is in the 95 jersey. There's like news here and there, but there isn't really crazy news. But I have news for you out of the NFL that's pretty crazy. Today, July 9th, the Washington Commanders and the Saints dropped some new uniform ideals. I think I'll start with the Saints. I'll leave the Commanders situation a little outway. The Saints unveiled a new helmet. Not new uniform, just a new helmet. A new alternate helmet which I think means next year we'll get all white uniforms. Technically, they do out there in New Orleans, but I mean they're white to match because this isn't, I believe, the exact white that they wear. It's a white helmet with the golden Saint logo. What is it? Saint Declare? Saint Declare? And the big bold gold stripe with black stripes on the sides. And then there is the logo very small within the golden stripe itself, kind of like shadows or silhouettes, little silhouettes or shadows that go down it. It's a pretty solid helmet. It's clean. I like the New Orleans font on the backplate of the helmet. I also like the gold face mask. We got a gold face mask here. I like it. Now the jerseys they're wearing with this helmet in the photos, in my opinion, mean you're getting white uniforms. I guess. There is a video. I'm actually gonna quickly fast forward through it. Yeah, they don't really show the uniforms in the video, but they are wearing white uniforms. I think it's just their normal ways, but it also matches the right shade of white that's in the video. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea, folks. I have no idea. But I thought that was cool. I thought the Saints did a really good job. I like the helmet. It's a good helmet. It's solid. I actually do like white uniforms. I like all white in football, even though that's kind of weird because, like, you know, the whole, like, yeah. Well, this is what gets crazier. Because the Washington Commanders have thrown everyone a loophole in the saga. That is their name. So the people I don't know, of course, the Commanders used to be the Redskins. And then when the Redskins name was taken out due to, I guess, what's the words I want to use? What was deemed cultural appropriation, which, in my opinion, this is crazy how the whole situation went out. They became the Washington football team for a season, and then unveiled their new name. They're the Commanders. They've been the Commanders for a couple of years now. Nothing correct. They have Laramie Thompson. Shout out Thompson. He's a Texan. Now he's a freaking Commander. They can honestly have him and too many penalties. Well, today, or at least the last week, I believe it was, July 2nd. So literally last week, they said July 9th, and it was this channel, and it was like, oh, there's going to be new uniforms. There's going to be new uniforms. This is crazy. This is a crazy idea. Well, then they're like giving these like legend, guess the Washington legend, who's on your Washington Monument Rushmore for the Commanders, you know? And then, boom, fit for old DC. Yeah, you heard that right. Fit for old DC. They then post a hype video that shows the Washington Redskins back in the day. The uniform itself is a white away uniform. Well, it's white. I'm going to call it... Okay, I'm going to be... It's the literal away uniform of the old Washington Redskins. It is... That's it. And it just has the W on it, on the sides of the helmet. This has sparked the craziest things I've ever seen. And here's what I mean. Since they've been the Commanders, there's been an outreach by Native Americans, and not only Native Americans, but people in general, but I will say there's been a huge group of Native Americans who have said, we do want them to be called the Redskins because it's an homage. Now, is it a slur? Yes. I'm going to basically quote what they're saying, what the Native Americans are saying. Technically, I'm going to give you just my psyops of it. Basically, they're saying, is it a slur? Yes. But to be honest, when it comes to the world of sports and everything else, there's not a lot of recognition of us. You can count the Chiefs. Technically, I could argue the Chiefs is kind of worse of a name than Redskins and with the whole thing because of the way they do it and everything else. But what do I know? But I will say that these uniforms do look clean. But I got to agree with some of these comments. if you're gonna, a few months ago they started selling, like what did they call it? Like throwback days, old classics, or some name like that. And it was a shirt that was red, and it had the Redskins logo, and then it had former and current players' last names and numbers on the back. It was just shirts, and it was in the merch store at the stadium itself. It wasn't on loan. So then they start selling this, and there was like, oh, are they going to bring it back? And then there was a huge hint that there's maybe a talk to bring back this logo. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, they didn't. Instead, they do a throwback uniform. And they'll be worn in 3 games. Sunday Night Football for the first 2 is Sunday Night Football. That's Week 9 against Seattle and Week 13 against Denver. Week 17 on Christmas Day, I believe, is Week 17. Christmas Day against the Cowboys. They will wear these throwback uniforms. And I'm going to be honest. They're leaning heavily on the Redskin ideal. You have this merch at the field. You now have these throwback uniforms. There is a lot of comments that are suggesting they're going to bring back the name with possibly a revamped logo. Now, these are confirmed, not good sources. I'm going to be honest. These are not good sources that I'm saying this from. But what I'm saying is there's a little bit of talk in Washington, D.C. at the stadium of the Commanders that's basically saying you should probably bring it back. I just want to apologize for the big boom that occurred during this podcast. You're probably like, Derek, what are you talking about? You probably heard it. Some stuff on the desk decided to fall because I may or may not have hit it. But like we were talking, I'm just gonna keep going. The Commanders, though, they have this new old throwback uniform. Come on, guys, what's going on here? Like, what are you like slowly soft launching from Commanders to Redskins? Like, what's the ordeal here? I don't get it. Like, they're cool, but it's like I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know. What I will say is that's kind of crazy. Let's go on to the F1, shall we? Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, McLaren guys. Lando Norris won. Oscar Piastri got second. But it's the guy in third that has questions. Max Verstappen finished 6th at the Silverstone Speedway, home of the Great Britain Grand Prix. And it's Nico Hulkenberg. After 239 races, he's been racing in F1 since 2010. He finally got his first ever podium. Now, the trophy for third place and all the places was made out of Lego. But the win's the win. Podium's a podium. Congratulations to Nico Hulkenberg. This was crazy. He basically explained in the cool-down room how they got third, and it's crazy. It's kind of they stayed out longer than they should have in their last from their first and second pit stop. They only did 2 pit stops, and they lasted a little bit longer in between their first and second than about everybody else in front of them. And it kind of allowed them to get up, and then they pitted, and then some other stuff happened in front of them, and some crazy stuff. And he finally finished in third. He's in third with I think it was 11 laps to go, 8 laps to go, and he cruised his way into third. It was also Sauber's first ever podium ever as a team. They will become Audi next year, so it won't even freaking matter, to be honest. But good for him. Good to Nico Hulkenberg. That is a big deal out there for the guy who drives a very bright green car. As for everything else, though, in the world of sports are sports, I'm going to be honest with you. In the world of baseball, the MLB All-Star Game will now have, and I quote, robotic umpires. The good old automatic balls and strikes kind of situation, which I don't know how to feel, but we will see. And it's going to look a little different, but I digress. It's just the way sports move. And there's going to be a lot of weird things that happen, but I'll figure it out. So, yeah. Until then, my name's Derek. It's been fun on this podcast. Hope you guys are having a good day. Hope you guys have a good week. Until then, my name is Derek Clark. You've been listening to Bull Spittin' with Derek Clark, as you can tell by the title. And this has been episode 3. Until then, guys, peace.